Eventide House wasn't haunted by people, they said, but by plants. Its sprawling Victorian conservatory, a skeletal ruin of rusted iron and shattered glass, loomed over the neglected gardens like the ribs of some monstrous beast. Local teens dared each other to touch its overgrown entrance at midnight, whispering about strange scents on the wind and finds that seemed to reach. When landscape architect Ben Shaw took the job to restore the gardens for the new owners, he dismissed the tales, overgrown wisteria and aggressive ivy were explanation enough. His first day, Ben focused on the other bats. By afternoon, drawn by the challenge, he approached the conservatory. The air changed. 10 feet from its broken doors, damp, thick and unnaturally warm despite the autumn chill. It smelled overwhelmingly of rich, dark with crushed greenery, and beneath it, something cloying and sweet, like rotting orchids. He pushed aside a curtain of strangler fig, its leaves unnervingly large and glossy, and stepped inside. Chaos, decades of unchecked growth ran riot, vines thicker than his arms snaked up the rusted frame, carnivorous pitcher. Plants hung like leathery udders, dripping viscous fluid, tarring. Alien-looking palms pierced the broken roof, and everywhere, orchids, not the delicate hothouse varieties, but thick, fleshy blooms in lurid purples and corpse whites, their petals veined like skin, exuding that overpowering, sweet, decay scent. The silence was profound, muffled by layers of living green. Ben began clearing a path, his shears biting through thick stems. As he cut a particularly dense curtain of moonflower vine, a wave of dizziness hit him. The scent intensified, filling his nose and mouth. Suddenly, he was entering the conservatory. He felt warm sunlight on his face, heard the gentle hiss of sprinklers, saw rows of pristine, exotic blooms. A figure moved among them, a woman in a wide, brimmed hat, her back turned, tending a magnificent orchid with cobalt blue petals. A profound sense of peace, of rightness washed over him, mixed with a fierce, protective love for the plants. Then, a sharp metallic crack echoed. The vision shattered, and he was back in the decaying jungle, gasping. The stench of rot thick in his throat. The moonflower vine he'd cut almost elaphic, dark sap that looked unsettlingly like blood. He researched Eleanor Vance, the last resident of Eventide, wasn't just a lady of leisure. She was a renowned, obsessive botanist who vanished in 1973. Her life work centered on the Eventide azure, unique orchid hybrid she cultivated solely in her conservatory. The official story was accidental poisoning from a rare plant toxin. Unofficially, rumors of foul play by a rival collector, or a descent into madness, where she became one with her beloved, dangerous flora. Ben returned, weary but compelled. The conservatory seemed to react to his presence. Vines suddenly shifted position overnight, blocking cleared paths. Fallen leaves piled unnaturally around specific plants he'd marked for removal. The orchid scent became a weapon, triggering vivid, disorienting flashes of Eleanor's memories. The joy of a successful bloom, the crushing despair when a specimen failed, the genuine paranoia that someone could take her. Azure, he felt her possessiveness like a physical weight. Once, reaching towards a cluster of the corpse, white orchids, a thorny vine lashed out, drawing a thin line of blood across his knuckles. Not randomly, deliberately. He found her journal, water, damaged and hidden inside a hollowed-out tree fern. Its pages spoke of the azure not just as a flower, but as her child, her legacy. The final entries were frantic. He comes at night, I see his shadow. He wants the azure. He will kill for it. I must protect the roots now they remember. The last page was a single, shaky sketch, not of the azure, but of a heavy cast iron garden trowel well, stained dark. The haunting wasn't Eleanor as ghost, it was her obsession, her fear and her life force, absorbed and amplified by the conservatory itself. The plants, particularly the orchids, had become conduits for her lingering consciousness, her final, terrified moments woven into their roots. And pollen, they remembered the intruder. They remembered the troll well. They were defending her legacy, becoming her rage and paranoia. Ben knew clearing the conservatory would be an act of violence against this trap consciousness, but leaving it meant letting Eleanor's terrified spirit fester in the greenery forever. He needed to find the Asher. It was the anchor. It took days of battling sentient vines and navigating sand induced nightmares. The deeper he went, the more hostile the flora became. Pitcher plants, carpet hungrily, sting, in nettles lash, finally, in the conservatory's humid pulsing heart, beneath the dome miraculously intact, he found it, the Eventide Asher. It was an taboo. Decades without Eleanor's care had changed it. It was a deep, bruised purple almost black, its petals thick and leathery, its center complex, dark labyrinth, irradiated an aura of profound sorrow and chilling menace. Buried deep in the moss at its base, half consumed by roots lay a heavy, rested garden trail well stained a permanent, ominous brown. As Ben approached, the air vibrated, the scent of rotting orchids, came overwhelming. Vines shot towards him, not to block but to seize. He saw it again, the shadowy figure, male, tall, wearing gardening gloves, lunging, the trail well raised. He felt Eleanor's terror, her desperate attempt to shield the Asher. He felt the impact, the world dissolved into pain, darkness, and the crushing sense of betrayal. Ben didn't fight the vines. He dropped his shears, slowly, deliberately. He knelt LT before the monstrous Asher. He didn't touch the troll well. Instead, he spoke, his voice hoarse but steady, in the suffocating air. Eleanor Vance, I see you. I see your work, your Asher. It survived, it shared. He gestured at the mutated bloom. It's not what it was, nothing is. But it's solid, it's your legacy. Grown wild change, but enduring. He poured out his own understanding, not just of plants, but of loss, of the desperate need to protect what you love. He stole your life, Eleanor. But he didn't steal this, your fear, your anger. It's poison in it, poison in you. Let it go, let the Asher just be. Silence, the tightening vines paused. The oppressive scent faltered, replaced for a fleeting moment by the clean scent of damp moss. The vision of the attacker flickered, faded. The monstrous Asher seemed to soften, its dark petals unfurled, as lightly, less aggressively. Ben carefully, slowly, placed his hand flat on the warm, mossy earth near the plant, not touching it. It doesn't need defending anymore, not like this. Rest. A sigh seemed to pass through the entire conservatory, wrestling every leaf. The vines gripping Ben loose in it, slithering back into the shadows. The intense, hostile pressure lifted, replaced by a profound weary sadness. And then, stillness. The rotting orchid scent vanished, leaving only the smell of richer than healthy greenery. The Eventide Asher remained, still dark, still alien, but no longer menacing, just opulent, a survivor. Ben didn't restore the conservatory. He curated it. He cleared paths for safety, pruned carefully, and let the jungle thrive. A monument to Eleanor's passion, not her fear. The Asher blooms yearly, its dark flowers less aggressive, its scent now a complex, earthy musk. Visitors feel watched, but not threatened. They feel profound peace mixed with melancholy. And sometimes, near the Asher, on very still afternoons, when the sun slants through the glass, the faint, clean scent of long and new grave carries a whisper that sounds like a woman's sigh, not of fear, of release, of roots finally settling deep into undisturbed earth.